we had you on as a guest yesterday. If I remember correctly, you didn't think the NFL would appeal.
That's what I thought.
Right. Okay. So obviously you're surprised. So tell us how surprised you are, and do you think this was the right decision by the NFL?
Well, I'm extremely surprised. I thought the NFL wanted to hurry up and put this to bed. But, public opinion obviously still means a great deal to the NFL. And they knew if they didn't appeal, there would be a certain level of backlash. Not enough to make them uncomfortable, but they knew no matter what, the 6-game suspension had to be appealed. They had to give the perception of them not being okay with it. Now, the things that to me are a little cloudy, and maybe you can clear this up, a man of your stature, is now that they've appealed, one of the people who can hear the appeal is Roger Goodell himself.
Right.
So now it seems like we're putting a hat on a hat. If they recommended an indefinite suspension, and the person who possibly can hear the appeal and rule on it is part of the group that, he's still
the judge, jury, and executioner.
So what are we doing?
Here's what I think, and I said on TV yesterday about once the ruling came down. I did think the league would appeal because, Ephraim, look, they did go for an independent arbiter, right? Sue L. Robinson.
Right, yes,
she's
former
unbiased.
judge.
Yep, she's not, doesn't have a dog in the fight, so to speak. She's going to be objective.
Mm-hmm.
And, but when you really read her report, she said the NFL proved what they set out to prove, that he violated the 3 points on the conduct policy that they pointed out. And then when she made her decision, she based it entirely on past precedent on the rulings given out by Goodell, which I get that's what you do in a court of law. I didn't necessarily want to see her do it in this situation. And so I don't feel like she acted as an independent arbiter because she made herself beholden to the NFL's past rulings, right? That's why she said it was 6 games. So I felt like, you know what? They have to appeal because they need to set a new precedent. Or God forbid, if this happens again, not necessarily with Deshaun, but with another player, then they're going to use the same precedent and it'll be 6 games again. And so I think he needs to set a new precedent. I don't know what he'll do. There are reports, Ephraim, and this is really where it could get sticky. But the reports are that, as you know, they wanted an indefinite suspension. Yes. The reports are that they're going to push for that again, or at least a full season. And I do think Goodell is going to, once again, be the judge, jury, and executioner. All right? So I think he's going to make the final decision. And then what I think needs to happen, I know the Players Association will appeal it. It'll get ugly. As you said, it won't go away. It's going to hang over maybe the whole season, at least for the Browns for sure. Mm-hmm. But I think after this decision, Ephraim, they need the PA, which I'm sure would do it, and the NFL need to decide that we're going to go into the CBA and mutually agree to do it and change it where Goodell does not have the final say, where it becomes we get an independent arbiter, a disciplinary officer, which was Sue L. Robinson or whoever, and she or he makes the final call.
Period.
Because this is no different than what we had before.
You're exactly right. And like them, it's like the shell game, right? Like you put a dime under one shell and you got 2 others and you're moving it around and you pick it up and be like, oh, it's not under there. Right? They're hitting us with the old bait and switch, right?
Yep.
Like, we're going to hire an independent person to rule on disciplinary action because we've been burned with that in the past.
Right.
So we're going to let someone that we feel is qualified to do this. And when that person does it and you don't agree with it, then you appeal it, and the appeal falls back into the lap of Roger Goodell. Makes zero sense.
But my thing is, why did the PA agree to that? They should have fought that and said, no, this is the same thing.
Well, it's a few things that the NFLPA does that you're just like, wait, what?
Well, right. It got you scratching your head. So, look, I think, Ephraim, and we're going to go to break in a moment and continue this in the next segment, but I think the NFL will be ready because obviously, again, the PA, I think, would be fine with taking Goodell out of the situation, out of the process. I think the NFL will be ready to now because, and I look, I know they only care about the shield, but they do seem like they really want a long suspension for Deshaun Watson.
Well, they do, and they had an opportunity to address this last year and get the ball rolling on this. They didn't. They chose to wait for, getting all the information. Now, out of the 24 women, only 4 were available to actually speak.
Right.
Because the other ones had settled their cases. So the dragging of the feet and the seemingly uncertain which way to go puts us in this situation now.
Well, they were doing that, but remember, they were doing a long investigation.
Right.
Which I don't necessarily, I guess you have to some degree, but again, I just think the NFL needs to get out of this policing process, right? They're not going to do it better than the FBI and the criminal justice system and things like that. But look, if the NFL, and again, I do think they really want a long suspension for whatever reason you want to say, but I think if you think about it, Ephraim, if Goodell was not involved, then they could have easily, the NFL could have been like, look, we wanted an indefinite suspension. Mm-hmm. All the women's groups and all the media members complaining about this 6 games, the NFL could have rightly said, we wanted it to be indefinite. And we had an independent person with no dog in the fight who made it 6 games. It's not on us. And I think that's why after this ruling, they should just get out.
Just get out.
Right. Just leave it to the people that do this for a living and then let the chips fall where they may. We're talking about the NFL appealing the 6-game suspension that was levied at Deshaun Watson. And what will happen? So let's, say when the NFL decides on who is going to make the ruling, it'll either be Goodell or someone he designates. I think it'll be Goodell. When he makes his ruling, then we all believe, and all the reports are saying that the Players Association will appeal it. And when they appeal it, Rob G, correct me if I'm wrong, it will be stayed, meaning the ruling won't go into effect until the appeal is heard and, decided upon. And so theoretically, let's say they suspend him for a full season. If the appeal is not heard and decided upon until after this season, Deshaun Watson could play this entire season. Or certainly, if it's not decided until November, he could play until then, which is obviously a crazy situation. But what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. This process is becoming longer,
right,
and more strenuous for us than we'd hope. Right, we hoped when the 6 games got levied down, some people were upset. It was what it was. Independent arbitrator came in, made the ruling. That's what we're going to do. Boom. Now we have an appeals process because if they appeal, the NFLPA can appeal.
Yep.
On behalf of Deshaun Watson. So, yeah, technically we could see Deshaun Watson play this entire year. And then if the appeal
play next year,
which makes no sense.
Right.
It makes zero sense. And I was thinking during the break, what if the NFL would have came out and took a stand last year? and said, look, we're going to suspend Deshaun Watson for the entirety of this year. Right? He wasn't playing. The Texans would not put him on.
They didn't have that ability. Because remember, in 2020, they made the change where it had to go to an independent arbiter.
Yeah, but the time it took to do that, right?
Because of the investigation and all that.
They were so focused on, we're not going to make a decision. Like, if the Texans could have easily forced their hand.
But here's the thing. They remember how much stuff came out. Let's say they had done it right away in training camp last year. And all this, or, soon after the first few allegations. And then here come 10 more women. And then 10 more women. And then there's the report about 66 masseuses. It could have, we're presuming that most of the information is out there. That we're not going to be hit with another 20 women coming out and saying this and that about Deshaun Watson. So I hear what you're saying, because we all feel a little bit dirty talking about it, right? We'd love to move on from it. But I just think it is what it is, and I don't know that they could have. Let me throw this at you, because there are those that believe the fact that he didn't play at all last season should count toward his suspension.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Do you agree? I totally disagree with that, and I'll tell you why. But first, I want to hear you. You agree with that? That should have counted?
I don't agree with that. That's why I was saying that the NFL should have took a stand, right? Like,
but wasn't that Deshaun's choice? See,
no, that was the Texans. That was the Texans' choice.
Well, he didn't want to play though.
It doesn't matter. That doesn't matter.
They should have played. You're with me. Myself and Rob, we were saying, look. If he shows up to camp, which he did, obviously just to get his money, if I'm the Texans, I'm like, you're our best quarterback. Get in there with the ones.
You're playing.
Now, he may have faked an injury or something, but remember, he was saying
he didn't want to ever play for the Texans again. Right.
Right.
This all came. Right. This all came on the heels of him saying, "I want out. I don't want to be here anymore." All of that prior to the story being breaking.
Right.
And so if I'm the Texans, I'm like, look, you're the starting quarterback. We don't care. You're under contract. We just gave you a truck of money.
Yep.
You're going to play. Now, the onus would have been on the NFL to step in and say, hey, wait. Something's going on here. Something's going on here. We don't want Deshaun to play until we figure out what's going on. He could have been on the commissioner's exempt list, whatever that is. But none of that happened.
Right.